Today, we're going to pick Freo's best 22 and a sub for their first final in about a month's time. What now for West Coast and Melbourne sack their coach? Welcome to the West Sports Show. We are brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Tuesday, as always, Craig O'Donoghue. How are you, Cod?
Oh, marvellous quarters. How late did you get in last night?
11 o'clock last night. I am fair to say I'm fairly weary. Massive Saturday. Melbourne West Coast into Melbourne West Coast. And the first portion of it was a disaster for West Coast, 83-point loss. The second was a disaster too, but I've got to say the Melbourne Vixens v West Coast Fever, one of the most amazing sporting events I've been to, Cod. It was 15,000 at Rod Laver Arena, and the noise was absolutely deafening. And it was a very sad for the Fever to lose, don't get me wrong, 13 games in a row. But if you divorce yourself from the romance of the WA result, it's probably a good result for netball because back-to-back grand final losses, farewelling their coach. It's just a good story, you know. So amazing spectacle and a very long Saturday, but a pretty enjoyable Saturday apart from the fact that no WA team won.
Oh, and now we're up to the real business end of the footy season.
The squeeze has begun at Fremantle. So what we're going to do something a bit different today. Before I mention that, I just will mention it's a massive day for footy today with Simon Goodwin being axed as coach of the Melbourne Football Club. We will get to that in a little while. But more importantly for us over here in the West, we've got a bit of a selection squeeze on at Fremantle. So you and I can do something a bit different. You're going to put the coach's hat on, and I'm going to be chairman of the match committee. Let's call me chair of the match committee. So we've got our cans of Coke. We've got some minties. And let's sit
pizza?
down.
I want pizza.
You can have a pizza. What pizza? What's your go-to?
Oh, barbecue meat lovers.
Barbecue meat. Well, that's my kids' go-to. I'd be a Napolitana with extra anchovies.
You can have some of that.
And maybe some capers and some chilli as well.
And there'll be some lollies in the middle of the table as well. They're very important. So if I'm the coach,
yes,
I'll be Justin Lomio, and we'll go back to after the game the other day because I did put the question to Justin, how do you get all these guys back in? Where does Nat Fyfe sit? Are you concerned about how you can manage the next few weeks? And this was his response.
So when we talk about continuity of Young, there's continuity of Fyfe as well. Does that come into your head straight away when you see Hayden?
A little bit, but we're running out of time in the season. So we need to put our best team out there to win next week. A lot of things will come into consideration with him and Piercy coming back, and but we need to get going as well. So, yeah, we'll see what it spits out, the selection.
Righto, so should we just start with some locks?
It's a good way to start.
That's what you do. You'd get them up on the whiteboard, and we'll do that as we go along, and then we'll name our team at the end. But if we start from the back line, I think we've got Ryan. So we're talking about, by the way, how we get them all back in the next 3 weeks.
Yep.
And your first week of finals, assuming Fremantle get there.
Yeah, they've got to get there.
This is going to be the best 22
plus a sub.
Okay, so back line. Luke Ryan, lock.
Okay, agree.
Let's lock him
in the back pocket.
Brennan Cox, lock him in.
Centre half back, you can lock him in, absolutely.
So Alex Pearce. You're at training today. What's the go with Alex Pearce?
Didn't see Alex Pearce at training at all, but didn't see any of the defenders either. So there's nothing to report on him at the moment. But when we look at Pearce, obviously captain, their best defender, has played 12 games for the year, but only one since May 24, and he pulled up sore from that. So they're trying to get him back. The question over the next few weeks for Alex Pearce is, how do you get him back into the team without him feeling sore and get the other guys back in as well, because you can't bring them all back at the same time because that's dangerous. You can end up being blokes unfit. So whether it's this week, next week or the week after, they have to find a way to get Pearce back in. So as we say, this team, first week of finals sort of time, he is feeling good, he's feeling healthy, he's feeling fit, and he's not feeling sore. But come that first week of finals, Alex Pearce just has to be in this team.
So, Coach, do we play him? Do we ease him back through Peel Thunder and the Waffle, or do we just give him some managed minutes in the AFL team?
Alex Pearce isn't playing Waffle. Alex Pearce, if Alex Pearce is going to get hurt, he's going to get hurt on an AFL field.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be worried about putting him onto a Waffle field. It's different to when they did it with Hayden Young. I think it's different to what they've done with Nat Fyfe. Alex Pearce, last line of defence.
Well, this is a hot
leader.
Spot in the shin, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if he's not right, he's not right. So if he's available, I'm playing him. That's what I'm saying as chairman of the match committee.
Yep, agree. It's just a matter of has he got enough training into him to play this week or next week. But I think he has to play 2 games before finals. So if he's not right to go to Adelaide, they've got to find a way to make sure that he plays against Brisbane and the Western Bulldogs and then has the week off heading into September.
Well, the sad story here will be McDonald because I think McDonald's done a pretty bloody good job, Cod, in filling the void left by Alex Pearce. But there's always sad stories, and to win premierships or to go deep in finals, you've got to make the tough calls. So as chairman of the match committee, unfortunately, that's who Alex Pearce comes in for.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty simple decision there. It's really interesting because he's played really well. Like, he's only lost 1 of his 11 defensive one-on-one contests. He's also taken a lot of intercept marks. He can play forward. He can play ruck. He's experienced because he's played the 94 games and he's played in a final series. So if something doesn't go right with Pearce, I reckon we're locking him in as the next guy in. I've got him well and truly ahead of Draper in terms of the 4th tall in the team because we haven't seen Draper since June 19. He's only 21 years old. So I think we can say McDonald out, but sitting there in case he's absolutely needed at some point.
Okay, so we're saying that Draper doesn't get selected.
No,
we're putting a line through Draper for this period of time.
Yeah, I think Draper's done for the season unless one of Cox or Ryan breaks down because McDonald is the next one in as well. So
there's our full back line. So we've got Ryan, Pearce, Cox.
Yep.
Okay.
As our 3 talls, correct.
Okay, so now we go to the halfback line. It starts to get a little bit more difficult. So Heath Chapman, I think, is a lock.
Yeah, I think we can say I'd have Jordan Clark as my absolute lock.
I haven't
first.
got to Jordan Clark.
No,
yet.
but Chapman's a level below a lock, but I'd call him an almost certainty at the moment. I think he's a really important part of the team. But I'd have Clark as your lock and Heath Chapman as the guy who can.
Okay, I'm going a double lock, extra security on Jordan Clark, and I'm just calling Cox a lock. Chapman a lock.
Okay, so
there's some halfbacks.
That gives us 5 players. Which leaves two more defenders. Because, as I say, Clark's definitely in, and Chapman's been so good for them all year. The question is the overall mix of the back line. Are we happy with it overall?
So Carl Warner, I'm happy with. I'm not calling him a lock, but I'm saying he's in my team at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the stability of the back line's been really important for them this year. So 19 games for the season. He's now 23 years old. He's a good mark. He can run. Both he and Chapman can play tall and small. So we're not really doing anything crazy to the back line, are we? What we're saying is the back line that's been there and has been holding up under intense stress against Collingwood, against Carlton on the weekend, that they have all earned their positions and are deserving of being in this team.
So we will talk about him a little bit later, but if we're looking for another defender...
We need one more.
So I'm going for Wagner.
Okay, so that means that you're kicking Bailey Banfield out of the back line and moving Wagner from the midfield to halfback.
I am. But the beauty of Wagner is, as we've seen, he can go midfield and help out. So I think I want versatility in this finals team. I want the ability to be able to move on the go. And if there's, in case of an emergency, he can go into the midfield. So that's why I want him in there.
Wagner's absolutely important. We'll change the midfield mix altogether as well. Banfield can also play forward if necessary.
That's right. And
he can play wing if necessary. He can be sub if necessary. And he's done a lot right for them this year. He's only been in defence for the 10 games. 27 years old, 114
and
games.
Doesn't let his coach down too often. Can come on and kick 3 or 4 as we've seen, and can go back. So I'm loath to, but maybe we revisit him with the sub. Well, let's see where we get to when we're talking about the sub.
I think Wagner's position in the team and Banfield's position, I think they're going to be ones as we get through the midfield and the forward line that we'll be coming back to. And there'll be a bit of a question mark at the moment over who is that 7th defender because those roles as we go through these lines are going to be pretty important. So I don't think we lock in Banfield or Wagner in the back line yet or kick either of them out.
I am.
Let's see what we can come up with because I'm the coach still.
And I'm the chairman of selectors, so, I've still got a bit of pull.
So we're still disagreeing a little bit on this for now, but we may agree later on. So let's get to the midfield and see.
So some of these positions too, by the way, it is versatility is what we're after.
Yes.
So let's say O'Meara on a wing.
Yep, I think he has well and truly earned his spot
probably
on
the
that wing.
best mid early in the year too. So
yeah, and so the reason why he's so good on the wing, he can run. he's sacrificial. I interviewed him after the game. He said, I will just run up and down the ground doing whatever the
He's
coach
played in
wants me to."
one final in his career, so
And
he's
got hurt
up
in
for
it.
it. Yeah.
Got hurt playing in that final. Didn't play in the winning final the previous week. So 194 games, desperate to play footy. Will leader, big body, can do multiple things. Yeah, absolutely has to play on that wing. And your other wing?
I'm going with O'Driscoll.
Yep.
I think love his left foot. For me, I've always talked him up as an X factor in a final, and I think he is the player. And is building really nicely at the moment, and can also go in for your stoppage, for your centre square bounce. So I think he's got the big body, which helps, and I can see him kicking 2 or 3 in a big final.
Well, he kicked at least one in that final against the Western Bulldogs here back in 2022 when he was just a kid. He is their best runner, so he just runs up and down the ground, and he's replaced Sharp in that role.
So Sharp at the moment. Unless there's an injury, I can't find a spot for him in the side.
No, I think he's a long way out of this team. The question around the wing position at the moment is that Matthew Johnson was playing that for the majority of the year. Then suddenly he went inside for a little bit, and O'Meara came into the team. So finding a position for Matthew Johnson, if he's not going to be on those wings, that's where we need to work out what this midfield is going to look like. And this is where the Banfield, Wagner, Johnson, they're now fighting for a spot at the moment.
So who's in the guts?
So in the guts, I'm assuming Hayden Young's groin is going to be okay.
Yep.
So if Hayden Young gets himself in any way fit,
well, he's in the side.
He's in the side.
The question is,
there's what we're going to call a lock.
No, there's a lock, but. Do we give him a little bit of time in the waffle just to get confidence in his body, or he's straight in?
So he's injured his groin. We haven't got a timeline on it yet, but I'm going to assume 3 weeks is a groin.
Oh, it's not a week.
Not 1 week.
No.
And given the lack of time that he's had, I think it's 3.
Yeah.
Gut feel, don't know, but gut feel is 3.
Would love to see him back for the Dogs game, but I would also like to see him get over this injury because we want him playing finals week 1.
Yeah.
And he'll also get another week.
And the big thing here is for all of these guys, Peel aren't playing finals. Peel have got 3 games left and then they're done. So in terms of managing them all, it's really important that, as I say, you don't want to bring Young back and Johnson back and Wagner back and Fife back and Pearce back potentially all at the same time if you're trying to get them all into this team, because they'll lack match fitness. But Peel have only got 3 games left. So the management of these guys over the next few weeks is crucial, and someone may miss out just because Peel don't have games to play and they can't prove themselves at any level.
They are pretty good at getting the fitness levels up these days.
They are. So we've got Young in the guts.
Yep.
Which
half forward. Let's start with a lock at half forward. Let's start with Shea Bolton.
Yes.
Absolute lock.
Yep.
And for me, as chairman of selectors, I'm looking forward to him playing in a big final for my team because we've seen him perform in big finals in the past. Dual premiership player at Richmond. I've loved his season. I love the fact he can go through the midfield now as well. So, he's a lock for me.
Yeah, agree. You don't recruit a bloke from Richmond on big money and big draft picks. If
he's proven himself.
So he's absolutely.
So the other half forward, I mean, you can one of them. So there's 2 here. One's going to start on the bench. One's going to start at half forward. However you like, it doesn't really matter. Let's put Switkowski on the other half forward flank.
Yep, I would agree with that. And that's one of the things with him. He's in the leadership team.
Lock.
So you got to play him.
And he's a lock.
And he lays tackles. And he was best on ground against Hawthorn. His spot is secure as a result of that.
So he's a lock.
Yes,
we're calling him a lock.
He's a lock,
Let's call him a lock. So the other player obviously would be Murphy Reid.
Yep.
Loved his season, loved his debut season. Rising star is a very, very good possibility win. So, I mean, I'm happy to start with either or, but let's put Murphy Reid on the bench.
He's in. I think he's in the team.
He's in the 22
regardless, and that gives us the 3 tall forwards. Then
Patrick Voss, centre half forward. Josh
Yep.
Tracy, either or.
Yep, and Jai Amos. I think we can say that those 3 talls, given
Voss,
they played all
Tracy,
year, are guaranteed
Amos,
to play.
Lock. So let's get him in for. Let's say Voss at centre half. Let's put Tracy at full forward. Amos in a pocket.
Okay, so the question I have for you right now is, where's Michael Frederick?
Michael Frederick's in a forward pocket.
Michael Frederick's in a forward pocket. So
what I like about Michael Frederick is I would like to see some more consistent performances across home and away, but I love his form. I love his speed, his electric speed. So I think he can kick a goal. He's a forward. But I think his speed is always a worry for our opponents. How do we match that? So he's in my team.
Okay, so now my question is, crumbing forwards who kick goals. So that's not Michael Frederick. He's a running forward. Bolton will be a midfielder who will push forward a bit and create a bit of chaos.
So Murphy Reid can do that.
So when Murphy Reid and Sam Switkowski are our crumbing forwards, but Switkowski doesn't kick goals. He applies the pressure. The X factor in the finals of Isaiah Dudley. Mm-hmm. If Voss and Amos and Tracy aren't marking the ball and it's at the ground, do we have enough with that team at the moment for someone to be doing the genuine crumbing, picking it up at the ground and creating goals out of nothing like Isaiah Dudley can?
I've got him as my sub for that reason. This is what happens when you get depth. I would like him in the team, but the starting 22, but I can't find a spot for him at the moment. But I really love him. I love what he's done. I love what he's given. So I can't wait to see when he gets another preseason into him, what he's capable of. Doesn't miss.
No.
Very reliable shot for goal. I love that. Doesn't seem to worry about the pressure either. We've seen him kick goals in big moments. Goes back and he's got a beautiful kicking action. So he just slots them. So that's why he's earned a place in my team. But he'll be the sub.
Well, I'll get to my sub a bit later, and we'll see whether he's still in that team.
Well,
because one thing guaranteed.
This is a negotiation process as the match committee, so we may change
because we haven't locked in our ruck division yet.
No, we haven't.
Which I think we can do pretty simply.
Yeah.
I think we'll just go lock, Jackson, Brayshaw, Sarong.
Well, or Darcy.
Jackson, Darcy and Jackson are both playing.
Let's go Jackson, Sarong, Brayshaw, or Brayshaw, Sarong, because, of course, Jackson is going to be one of my midfielders as well.
Okay. Well, we'll get that will happen because we've seen it happen all year. There's no doubt about that. Which means that Darcy, I think Darcy's a lock for your bench.
Yep,
so
has to be.
He's your first player on your bench at the moment, because we know that he is absolutely guaranteed, and we've got Reid as an absolute guarantee as well as that bench. So we've got Darcy and Reid both sitting on the bench.
Yep.
Now we've got the challenge because this is where we go back to Wagner, we go back to Banfield, we go back to Johnson, and then we've got the question of Nat Fyfe because they can't all play, and Dudley's in there also. So we've got to work out. There's 3 spots left in this team, and there are 2 on the bench and a sub. And as I said, we've got Dudley, we've got Banfield, we've got Wagner, we've got Johnson, we've got Fyfe. There's 5.
I've already said Wagner is in there. I want Wagner in there.
Well, I'm the coach. I'm saying that's still up for grabs. So let's talk about all of them. What's your position on Nat Fyfe?
I'm going to have him in there. I want to see what happens the next 3 weeks. But I want him in this week, and I want him in playing at least 3 quarters. If he can't play the 4 quarters, he's not in my team. I'm not subbing him. I want the big body in there in the midfield.
What about when it comes to finals? Do you believe that Nat Fyfe is in the best 22 with the way he plays, or is he more beneficial to the team as a sub?
No, I want him in there. I want the big body, the big experience. I want him in there from the start. And if he can't play the 4 quarters, then we'll reconsider. But that's what I want to see over the next 3 weeks. So I've got him on my bench.
You got him on your bench? Yeah, I've got him. I'd have him as a sub.
So you wouldn't have Dudley in there, or you'd have?
I'm saying Dudley misses out at this point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm saying Dudley misses out because I think there's enough options around there for what you can do. So I think when you're looking at Fyfe versus Johnson versus Wagner versus Young versus Banfield and stuff. So we talked about those 5. I like Fyfe in there. I have concerns with this team at the moment over versatility and the ability to cover different sort of injuries.
Well, so why isn't Wagner on your bench?
And this is where we have to look at Wagner and Banfield and Johnson in all those different roles, and also worry about the height within the group at different points as well. So I think Dudley misses, looking at that team over there, and I think Johnson plays.
So you put Johnson on your bench?
I'd have Johnson on the bench, and then I'm happy to chuck Wagner in, and I'm going to say, unfortunately, Banfield misses out.
Yep.
But geez, he's stiff.
Yep.
I think it's Wagner versus Banfield for the last spot because they can both play anywhere on the field. And I think it could be a horses for courses sort of scenario. I think Wagner getting injured now is a terrible time of year for him. I think Johnson's height is going to be important for that midfield because we've seen how
Five's got some height too.
Yeah, but I'm playing him as the sub. So before he comes on, I think you need Johnson out there, and I think Banfield can play back wing forward. That will help him against certain teams. Wagner can tag, play back, play mid as well. I think we're almost going to hope that someone gets hurt along the way, so we don't have to make the decision on which one.
Well, that's what we do, of course.
Yes.
You as the coach to hope someone doesn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Wagner ahead of Banfield.
Well, I mean, as coach, you should have the overriding vote, even though the chair normally has that.
Yep.
Let's call me a non-voting chair. Let's do that. But yeah, look, that's okay.
I think that last spot, it's really interesting. The sub position being either Dudley for his crumbing forward work, Fife for his ability to bring the body and experience in that midfield, or Banfield's versatility, gives us options depending on who the team plays.
That's right.
And how players
and it
are
is
feeling.
going to be horses for courses. So I'm saying as chairman, we'll be playing different opponents in the finals. It may change. It's a complex thing picking a team. So, I'm happy with that either way. I'd still rather have Fife in the starting, but I want to see how it goes the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's an interesting
We'll know
thing.
more in 3 weeks' time.
And when you look at that team, as I say, Pearce coming back from injury, Young has to come back from injury, Johnson's has to come back from injury, so does Wagner, and so does Fife. So there's 5 guys in there who have fitness question marks over them. I did think it was interesting. Jordan Clark spoke today at Fremantle. I asked him, is the selection squeeze coming? And he said, it's up to blokes to get into this team, not to feel like they haven't done enough to stay in it. When you're in the team and you've won 10 of 11, you deserve your spot, and it's up for others to push you out.
So this is the age-old phrase that your worst or your last selected 4 win you the flag.
Correct.
Your worst 4 win you the flag. If you look at the great teams and you look at their worst 4, they're first selected in other teams.
Yeah.
So that's...
And right now, you're looking at, with the team we've just put up, Banfield an emergency, Dudley an emergency, and probably Oscar McDonald would be the other emergency because he can play.
Yeah, well, if
both ends
there's
of the
an injury,
field.
yeah.
So it's a versatile team. It's got a lot of options.
And there's some unlucky players to miss out, but it's tough.
Absolutely, and someone will most likely get hurt along the way. But that team at the moment looks balanced.
Well, let's
and
read it
strong.
out.
Yep, from
As
the back
coach,
line.
I'll let you read it out.
Okay, so from the back line, we've got Ryan, Pearce, and I've got Cox at centre half back. Chapman on one half back flank, Clark across one half back flank, and Warner in the back pocket. We've got O'Meara, Young, and O'Driscoll across the centre line. Bolton, Voss, and Switkowski across half forward, with Tracy, Amos, and Frederick closer to goal. Jackson in the ruck. Brayshaw and Sarong at his feet, with Reid, Darcy, Johnson, and Wagner. And we have Fife as the sub. Players will flick around positions
of course.
in terms of whether they're in the back pocket, half back flank, centre half back, full forward, all that sort of stuff. But the back six, the midfield, and that front forward line, that's how they'll work together. And that is what Fremantle need to work towards over the next 3 weeks with selection to get fitness into guys so that they can have that team available week 1 of September.
Which, as David Parkin used to call them, he had 2 teams every week. One was his paper team and one was his grass team.
Yep. and it certainly looks different the entire time. And the midfield is the really interesting one. I had a lot of information in the paper today about Fremantle's midfield mix. So pre-bye, they had one tall midfielder, 185 centimetres or above, in every single centre bounce 58.7% of the time. Post-bye, that's dropped to 34%. They've thrown Jackson in as the tall player, but he hasn't actually had an impact in winning stoppages for them at centre clearances. He's managed to halve the centre clearance for them a lot, but they haven't won it. When they've had short midfielders in there, they've struggled to win the ball as much. So their clearance differential pre-bye, when they had tall midfielders in there, was plus 16 over the course of the year. Post-bye, centre clearances is negative 11 when they've been shorter. So that's why I think...
Is that bumped up a little bit by the Essendon game?
Bumped up a lot by the Essendon game where they blew them away in that. So I think that's where it's really important to have Johnson and Fife available and Young back into this team, because when you're bashing each other in there with the big bodies of a Jordan Dawson and a Hugh McCluggage and these sorts of guys, Scott Pendlebury, as you go through all of the teams, you need to have the big bodies who can push and shove.
So here's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Give me one player, only one, who can they not win the flag without?
Oh God, that's
I'll tell you mine straight off the bat. I think it's Young.
Yeah, I was going to say Young. It's either Young or a forward. I think if Tracy goes down, I would worry for them. Jackson goes down, I would worry for them because I'm not sure Darcy can play the entire game. But yeah, that Young's kicking changes games, but they have got to where they are at the moment with him barely playing for the entire year.
They have. I still think to get to the promised land, he's the player for me.
He is the difference maker for them. There is absolutely no doubt about that. So that's a good team. That's a really good team.
So Brisbane, Port away, Brisbane at home, Dogs away to finish. I've got them winning 2 of those, at least.
I think they'll get to the last game and they'll either be playing for 5th or 8th.
Yeah.
Either a home final or an away elimination final. I don't think the top 4 is realistic for them. Even though I think they can get there if they win all 3. But I think they should beat Port this week. I think the Brisbane game they can get. I don't think they'll get the Bulldogs game. I'm expecting it to be the last game of the home and away season. Apart from that Gold Coast Essendon one, which has been suspended for later on in the year. But it'll be that Sunday night game, and the Bulldogs will be playing for a spot in the 8, I reckon, at that point. And I think that will be enough to get the Dogs over the line.
As a proud major sponsor of the Fremantle Football Club, Woodside has accepted the challenge of supporting local footy at all levels, from grassroots to greatness, so it can thrive throughout WA. Woodside, Australia's leading energy company. COD. I have just come from West Coast training, so no flying Ryan. He obviously had that head injury at the weekend, passed his HIA, was back out there in the second half, and it's not unusual for him to miss the first session of the week. So I'm not sure where he's at. Harry Edwards is the concerning one. Played the game through the game, but I'm told a bit of some real serious foot soreness. So he's a watch. I asked the captain, Liam Duggan, who did a press conference, and he said, no, he's still prepping to play, but he's a little bit sore. So the reason I think he's so important, of course, they're coming up against the 3-headed monster, Thilthorpe, Fogarty and Walker. Or are they? So if you are Matthew Nicks, are you resting Tex Walker or one of the other 2 for the game against West Coast, given you're looking ahead at finals?
No, I'm taking the percentage this week. If I'm Adelaide, I am absolutely
144.1.
144.1.
Geelong can catch him.
Yeah, I'm just saying, this is a free hit. They should win by 100. They should absolutely win by 100.
So you're going to play all 3.
Yep. Do your
big
damage.
challenge for the young West Coast defence. Very big challenge.
Yeah, do your damage if you can, and then you got Collingwood the next week. I think you don't flirt with your form. Collingwood flirted with their form and against Gold Coast by dropping blokes back and forth. I'm just playing, guys. If I'm every team at the moment, pick your best team, especially when you're playing against a team where you can beat up and get some percentage. Because West Coast, we saw on the weekend 10 goals in a quarter, a Melbourne kick,
which has become a familiar theme. There's one quarter that they just turned the toes up, and then they sort of relatively competitive. I thought the coaches' comments post match were fine. They were good. Had to say it. We're not tough enough as a team. We're not tough enough as a club. Agreed with all of that. Thought he took a bit of a swing at the defence. He said it wasn't just on this back 6; it was on the mids as well. I actually thought the defenders played okay. They were under siege.
And they've been under siege all the time, yeah.
But so I actually thought they stood up okay from where I sat. It was just a tough game.
The challenge for Andrew McQualton now is to convince the players mentally that every moment in a game matters, because it doesn't matter what the sport is. If you're accustomed to losing or you're accustomed to winning, you expect it to happen. And so when 5 goals gets kicked against them in the quarter, or when it gets to 3 goals in a quarter, they're starting to think, this is happening again. And you just mentally change your position.
It's a bit late in the season, though.
It's not too late to change your mental approach to that. It's got to be, they have to find a way to prevent these 5, 6, 7, 8 goal quarters happening all the time, because they are constant and they've been that way for years. And I think it's so easy to just go, they've broken our backs and it's can't come down. It's going to be a hard game now, or a hard quarter. They've got to end those, and that's a mental thing rather than necessarily
that's all well
physical.
And that's fine. Okay, I'm just saying they can't move off bottom of the ladder. That's it. It's theirs. It's confirmed. I'm going to try a few things. I'm going to bring in Luca Grego for they've had 8 debutants this year. He'll be the 9th. Why would you not bring him in the last couple of weeks? He was a little quieter in the waffle last weekend, but he's been building nicely. I'm bringing him in. I want him to get a taste of the elite level before he starts another pre-season. I want him to know the level he's aspiring to play. So I always think that you do that late in the season, it just gives the kid a bit more motivation in the pre-season. It gives you an idea. So I'd play him. Maybe flip a few players into some different positions, see how they look in unfamiliar territory, just so you've got a bit more intel over the preseason and heading into next year. What could go wrong with that?
Exactly. You've got to find out things now. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think that's
finding it, getting some sort of positive for everyone. The only concern is if you bring someone in on debut and they lose by 100 points, which is a chance against the top team, that they'd be scarred by it and they'll never really get over that sort of thing. But if you don't take the risk, then you can't potentially find someone who jumps off the page. You go, oh, they're a better player at AFL than they are at Waffle. And there's plenty of those guys around who thrive at the next level and struggle at a lower level.
It's really interesting that I was really concerned for Sandy Brock when he made his debut on Jesse Hogan. He kicked 9 on him. And I thought, bad call. I would have kept Harry Edwards in that side, minimised the damage. We saw what happened at Zach Dawson all those years ago. But he came good. And Sandy Brock has come good since then. So I'm going to say kudos to Andrew McWalter. He knew what he was doing. It was a bit of a gamble, in my opinion, but it paid off. So don't be afraid to experiment is my message to the Eagles for the last couple of minutes. Now, big news this morning, Cod. Simon Goodwin sacked. I will say from the outset that clearly they're shaking the tree. They want to see what's out there. They're concerned maybe that John Longmire is in the mix for a job at Carlton. So they're shaking the tree. I don't see any point in sacking a coach with 3 weeks out. I hate it. And very respectful Port Adelaide, what they've done with Ken Hinkley. Why would you put Josh Carr in? You know he's going to be the coach next year. Leave Ken in the job. I would have done the same thing with Simon Goodwin. Nevertheless, they've made that call. I'm not sure if Adam Simpson will do that, take that job. I don't think he's ready to coach again just yet. I'm really interested to see where they go from here. Troy Chaplin will take over as caretaker. Do they go for a Skipworth? Do they go for an assistant? Are they concerned that there's a really good assistant out there that they're going to miss out on? The mail is that Longmire, it's his at Carlton if he wants it, but if he doesn't want it, then Michael Voss will see out the length of his contract. By the way, I'd like to see Michael Voss see out the length of his contract. I think the problems weren't instigated by him. He's had a bit of time to turn it around, but theirs is more of a list problem, I think. But really interesting day. Pretty dignified press conference from both Brad Green, the acting chairman, and the coach himself. Said the really interesting, Simon Goodwin said, the most disappointing thing is I don't think people understand how close I reckon we are to challenging again. I don't think they are that close to challenging again. But if I was a prospective coach, I'd probably, looking at Carlton and Melbourne's list, where would you want to coach? Jagger Smith comes in next year.
I want Carlton.
Yeah, I want Melbourne. I think there's a bit more talent there in the youth. Windsor, the likes of Windsor and what have you. O'Farrell, who's a really good young player, unfortunately did an ACL at the weekend. So you'd have Carlton.
Oh, I'd have Carlton.
Why is that?
I think Melbourne could become what West Coast are.
Okay, you reckon dysfunctional fall off the cliff?
So
you don't think Carlton could?
No, not as badly. Let's have a look at Melbourne and compare Melbourne to West Coast in terms of the fall. So West Coast fell into the trap of not trading away their experienced players when they had currency.
I.e. Oliver Petrarca.
And signing them on long-term deals. Petrarca's 29, he's signed until 2029. Oliver is signed until 2030. Jack Viney is 31, he's signed until 2028. North wanted him. Petrarca wanted out. Oliver wanted out. They said no. West Coast fell into the same trap. And this goes back to Goodwin saying, I don't think we're far away. They're miles off it. West Coast didn't think they were far away either. They ignored the opportunity to trade Harrison Petty for 2 first-round draft picks. That was just a gift that was given to them. They made that mistake there. They've now signed Cozzy Pickett until 2034, despite him wanting out. So they've got that long-term deal. Will he be motivated now if they're a lower-placed team? They stuffed up the Brodie Grundy trade. So these are all sorts of similarities between how a list can get into turmoil. They've already traded their first-round pick from this year because they thought they'd be a good team, and they're not. Right now, their pick is number 7. That goes to Essendon. Their first pick will be 25. West Coast
probably becomes about 35.
Yeah.
After NGAs and father-sons.
West Coast won the flag and then went into the semis the next week and lost. So did the next year and lost. So did Melbourne. The Eagles then finished 5th 2 years after the flag and didn't win a final. Melbourne didn't win a final 2 years after winning the grand final either. 3rd year after the flag, West Coast went to the bye with a winning record and missed finals. So did Melbourne. Year 4 was the drop for West Coast. Same with Melbourne. Both players have lost a player post-grand final to a drug suspension. It was Willie Rioli for West Coast. It was Joel Smith for Melbourne. Both players lost players to concussion. Brayshaw at Melbourne, lots of players with McGovern and Shepherd and Venables and Edwards at West Coast. when you look at their list, it's lots of old players. And right now in Melbourne, they've got Gawn, Melksham and May, who are 33. McDonald's 32. Viney's 31. Salem is 30. They've got very few talented players between 23 and 27. So I just think they are on the way down, and they're following the same pattern that what West Coast did of believing they're better than they are after winning the flag. I wouldn't want to go anywhere near this list.
So West Coast waited a bit too long after it was there. We all saw what was happening.
Yeah.
So Melbourne maybe are in the middle of that now, and they need to take stock and realise this is a rebuild. So if you're a new coach, if you're a match committee, here's an interesting one. If you're selecting the coach, and someone comes in and says, "I think you can make the 4, or I think you can make finals in 2 years or next year," or do you take a bloke who's honest, who says, "I think your list's in disgraceful shape and we need to rebuild now"?
Yeah, I think.
What do you do what are you listening to?
If an experienced coach walks in and tells you you're in rebuilding mode, then that should tell you you're in rebuilding mode, because the guys who are experienced shouldn't want to take on a rebuilding list. Really, they should want to take on one that they believe can rise up the ladder, because it's hard to survive being the rebuilding coach. It's really challenging at the moment to get the right coach for the team at the right time. My concern is the age of a lot of these coaches. Now, I reckon that when you enter the competition, you have all these ideas, all these fresh ideas, and you're prepared to change things around. I reckon once you get to Adam Simpson, Longmire, Clarkson, Lyon, these sorts of guys, you have your theories and you're embedded to them most of the time. You don't really change much because you've seen that
Chris
success.
Fagan, to that. Chris Scott.
So you get to that stage and you're like, this is who I am, this is how I coach. Whereas I think the newer coaches come in with a million ideas, chuck them all at the dartboard, and a couple of them will come off. So we've seen Clarkson turn 55 at year 1 at North, hasn't been able to turn them into anything. Ross Lyon turned 56 in year 1 at St Kilda, hasn't been able to turn them around.
Yeah.
So, yet. Whereas Chris Fagan was older when he started, but he was starting, so he was throwing things at the board and seeing what comes from it. So I worry, Malthouse was 59 at Carlton, Rocket Eade was 57 at Gold Coast, Ken Hinkley's now 58. Damien Hardwick's 51 at Gold Coast at the moment. He's a bit younger, whereas Longmire's about to turn 55.
So you worry about age.
Yeah,
you want
I worry
more
about
youthful
I think
energy.
those guys are in it for the now. I don't think they're rebuilding coaches. You've got to be
interesting.
If
you look at
now.
international sport, you look at American football, you look at the EPL, no problem having 70-year-old coaches.
No, it's a different sort of industry over there. I think our industry, you need to have the guys when you're building who can be in it for the hard years, because it's bloody hard, and they need to know that they can do the 5 or 6 years and be energetic and have different ideas the entire way along. And I think when you've been in it for a long time, you're more likely to be wedded to your own ideas at that point. So I think Longmire, Buckley, Simpson as 3 examples are all better to be going into a team that has gone through the hard yards and is coming out the other end. You get the rebuilding coach in to get sacked after 3 or 4 years, then you jump in over the top.
Well, let's hope that.
So I think Carlton's a better list for all those reasons than what Melbourne is.
I still like Melbourne's list.
And I can see
there's a bit
Longmire
there.
going in and doing a good job at Carlton, and Buckley or Simpson doing a good job at Carlton either, but I wouldn't want any of them going into Melbourne, because I think they're still going down.
Yeah, I think they're losing Petrarca too from.
They've got to make some trades, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Jeez, he's one. He's a hard one, that one. Cod, Thirsty Camel mailbag time. This week's special, 2 is extra dry 24-pack. Camel Club member price is $47 a carton. Join up in-store or online today. Every week we're giving away a $50 digital voucher thanks to Thirsty Camel. Get your questions into TheWestSport at wanews.com.au. Please include your mobile number at the bottom of your email, as we'll send you a digital voucher if you're a weekly winner. Hey, Cod and Quarters, what do you think is the easier job? Lifeguard of a paddling pool or Guernsey designer for Collingwood? That retro top was a real classic must-buy. As a Freo fan, I used to hope the Eagles would lose every game, but I'm pretty much in a position now where I would support them against most Vic teams, unless it was to the benefit of Freo that Eagles lose. I'm not sure if I can put it on any one thing, although the 8 first-class seats comment from Geelong is an all-timer. It's probably the sycophantic cheerleader comments we have to put up with when watching every Vic team on KO. Hard to understand what they're saying when their mouths are full of Dacos body parts. Any chance we could get an alternative commentary option in WA, preferably with you two on the mics? Very nice, Sean. More of a statement than a question.
Not really a question, no, but he's covered a lot off there.
He has. Well done, Sean. Hi, Quarters. Unfortunately, throughout the season, the fixture has produced a ladder that is not straightforward for fans to follow. The postponed Suns v Bombers match is still to be played, and the ladder has been skewed. Not happy, Jan. That's from Michelle. Look, you're right. I hate the whole early buys, opening round. But there's not much they could do about the postponed game. That was
you can't stop a
that was a
cyclone.
geographical event. So
The problem was that
weather event.
The problem was that they wanted to play it midway through the year, but when they had to make the decision about whether it would be played midway through the year, Essendon weren't horrible. Essendon was still a decent team at that point and had high hopes. And the way the fixture would have fallen, they would have had no chance of winning with the lack of recovery and the amount of travel that they had to do around that little window. So they said, we're not going to do that. Now, if they had have known they were at the bottom of the ladder, as they are at the moment with the injuries left, right and centre, they would have just played it, I think. But they couldn't have been expected
So
to make
you'll
that
love
decision
this
then.
next. You'll love this one. This is from Craig from City Beach.
Good
G'day,
name.
boys. Would there be any precedent for an injury-depleted Essendon to shake hands with Gold Coast and award them the win in the final round, thus solving some of the issues as a result of the postponement? Although this is probably hypothetical, it is hypothetical, most of the clubs might agree the sticking point may be the percentage gains given to Gold Coast. Also, any chance the Eagles would look at Tom Mitchell for a third rounder to solve a few clearance issues and leadership in a similar role to what Sam Mitchell did. He's on the outer at Collingwood and has some WA links. On that latter part, I don't mind it if you're not giving away much because we saw the coach, Andrew McQualter, flag it at the weekend. We're going to the draft, but we want to get some more experience in, and I think they have to.
Free players at the latter stages with trades.
Tom Mitchell will be okay.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Accumulator, midfielder, experienced, ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Free players who are leaders, absolutely take them. You don't want to get rid of your early draft picks to get them. As for the
It's not happening.
shake hands, no, you have to play the game. Yeah. There's a Brownlow medal up for grabs for Noah Anderson for one.
Yep.
Every other team will be looking at it and saying, well, hopefully Essendon bash the hell out of them.
Matt Rowell take a few votes off him.
He might, Matt Rowell, but both of them will be in Brownlow contention. Every other team will want that game to be played so that Gold Coast have to take something out of their legs and start feeling a bit sore. And if they don't play, the ladder looks lopsided and it sets a bad precedent for the future. Once you get to this stage of the year, then they have no choice other than to play it. And then both teams will just hope that no one gets hurt.
Maney from North Perth writes, "Hi gents, love the show. I'm hearing some calls from the Victorian media to scrap the father-son rule to help equalise the draft and the competition more generally. Before anything like that happens, I hope the AFL takes a proper look at how such a change would impact all clubs. Knowing our luck, Fremantle is probably on the verge of having some genuine AFL prospects coming through. Would be dockery to lose that opportunity just as the rule gets scrapped. If the AFL wants to focus on equalisation, they could look at the free agency rules. At the moment, destination clubs, wealthy and successful, can land top players for nothing. While the club losing the player is compensated, the remaining teams get pushed down the draft order. Thank you, Maney. Let's not get rid of the father-son rule. Let's pay an absolute premium for guns. So your Dacos is at the top end. Maybe for 2 first rounders, whatever it takes. Just go and pick one, name them, and see what happens. I don't scrap the father-son, please. I don't mind the free agency focus. I think they have to look into that, though, because let's be honest, it does work for the benefit of the rich and wealthy clubs, free agency.
Yeah, it does. But the lower
successful
West
players.
Coast should benefit from it this year, though, because they're going to lose Australia and get picked 2 in the draft. So you lose a good player, but you get the draft picks you want. I'll say this about the father-son rule. So I'm 49. I've got a 17-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old daughter. I reckon most people around my age have kids around the same age.
Too,
yeah. So the players who are born around the same time as me, so if you look at the players born between 72 and 82 sort of thing, if you start adding up how many of your players have played 100 games to qualify for the father-son rule and have played 100 games, Fremantle and St Kilda both have heaps of players coming through now who are born in that little window. So the next decade, you should have enough players eligible, and it's just a matter of did they have boys, and are those kids
not
in the
necessarily.
footy? Well,
AFLW?
Yeah, but for the men's team that we're talking about at the moment, because the women's team, you only have to play one game. And if one game makes it eligible for the daughter. So if you're looking for how many players you have who have the potential to produce father-sons, Fremantle, St Kilda, who haven't done that, are getting a huge influx of players who have played 100 games and are in that age bracket. So I think you'll start to see names being bandied about around those players. It's just a matter of, as I said, whether or not their kids have played the game and got the talent and athletic attributes and all those sort of things. But the numbers, and that's all it is, it's a numbers game. How many players are at the right age and how many have played 100 games, that window is opening.
Just a quick, short rant from me. Cooper Hodge. You either qualify for father-son or you don't. He spent some time with the Brisbane Academy. Father-son should usurp academy rights. Sorry, he should be only eligible for Hawthorn. It's nonsense.
So Nick Blakey should be a North Melbourne player then?
Yep, 100%. So if you're going to have it, have it. Don't make it Mickey Mouse. Anyway, I told you it would be a quick rant, and it is. You have been listening to the West Sports Show. We have been brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. Leave us a rating and a review, and don't forget to follow this podcast so you don't miss an episode. Thanks, God. It's been fun. I hope we get to coach and match committee again.
Always good quarters. See you next week.